trapped between the creatures that roam the night and the monsters that rule the day.
Where are you gonna go? Where?
J. Horton directs A Hard Place, and this is a monster mash movie with a recognisable cast of B-movie character actors, particularly female character actors, including Lynn Lowry, Felissa Rose, Sadie Katz, for example. So the story focuses on a group of criminals after a kind of heist, and they want to kind of lay low for a while, and they want to go to this kind of remote kind of farm area, and I think they're planning to kind of like get passports and stuff there. So they go to this farm area, and they're actually attacked by what can be best described as kind of like the Last of Us style zombies, like tree zombies, I guess you would say, tree creatures. They seem to be saved by a local group of kind of redneck types, but they also appear to be some type of supernatural creature who are having a kind of a feud with these tree monsters. And now this kind of group of criminals is kind of caught between these two factions. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So I believe this was a crowd-funded movie, and I've got to say, it is quite a low-budget film, and it does look low-budget. Let's talk about what I think works in this movie's favour. It's a kind of a horror comedy, so it has a kind of lighter tone. It has a little bit of a goofy edge to it, but it also has some things that I think has a little bit of an interesting commentary. For example, these two kind of warring factions don't really even remember why they feuding in the first place, but they have just carried on because this is what they've always done. So I thought that was kind of an interesting idea here. So there's a few kind of like ideas that are both sort of somewhat poignant, but also some kind of funny elements as well. A little bit of kind of witty dialogue here and there. I get this feeling this is somewhat kind of influenced by Tarantino, and tries to have a kind of a Tarantino edge to it. I don't think it's particularly successful in that, but I can kind of see the influence. Obviously, clearly, this is sort of in a way similar to From Dusk Till Dawn, but a little bit of kind of Pulp Fiction in there as well. You have got a cast of, as I say, recognisable faces. There is like a film within a film as well, where the likes of like Biling and Sadie Katz kind of turn up and stuff. So some of them are in that, and that's like a zombie film, but we see a little bit of. But nonetheless, there is a kind of a few recognisable faces here, which is kind of nice to see for kind of genre fans and kind of things like that. I think the idea of these creatures warring is certainly an interesting one, and I like the fact that they've actually picked not typical creatures. Like, it's not vampires versus werewolves. It's these kind of tree zombie type things versus these like lizard men is the best way to describe it. But the lizard men can kind of assume the guise of a human if they want. It's a bit like were-lizards, I guess you would say. And the interesting thing here is that the kind of the were-lizards kind of control the night, whilst the plant zombies sort of are in control more of the day. But the whole point of this conflict is there's actually going to be an eclipse where they'll both have sort of equal footing, and they're kind of raring for a fight. And it's just our group of robbers, our criminals, who are kind of caught up in all this, and what are the plans for them. So the movie does have some interesting ideas, and as I say, I like the fact that we have not typical kind of monsters, and the effects are done practically. I think sometimes the effects look okay, in particular with the kind of the tree-like zombies. If you do look at this through a low-budget lens, mind you, it does look low budget. But yeah, I think they look okay kind of sometimes. And there's a couple of fun characters. My favourite character was one of the robbers called Candy, who is just like brutal. She's by far and away the most thuggish, and she's like this like bleach blonde with like red lipstick and stuff, so she's like all dolly girled up, but she is the most brutal character. So I thought that was kind of quite fun. What doesn't work, it is very low budget, this movie, and it really looks like it. It's a kind of grindhouse, drive-in cinema style movie, and they even kind of reference driving at the beginning of the film. But yeah, it does look a little ropey, I have to say. But let me expand upon that just a little bit. So let's talk about the VFX first of all. I appreciate the fact that we have different monsters, and I do think there's some instances where the effects look fine, but a lot of the time they kind of just like paper mache blobs on people. It doesn't look good in some shots, it must be said. There is a bit of gore here, but it's sort of like, you know, a pumpkin getting smashed and stuff like that rather than a head. You know, it's not really exactly high-tech stuff. I think this film has too many cast members. We were introduced to this clan of like hillbillies who are the kind of the lizard men, and there's loads of them, and everyone's like, you know, wants their kind of lines and stuff, and it's just like there's so many of these characters. It's kind of like, and I gotta be honest with you, they're not good actors, a lot of them. I have a feeling that since this is a crowd-funded movie, that some of these are contributors to the crowdfunding campaign. There's also kind of like a montage of like TV clips, right? Again, I think these are possibly like people who have crowdfunded. And although that's fun for the people who do it, but when you watch it, like I say, it feels like the movie stops to have this little clip show of clips, and then you have these. I presume they are, you know, people who have contributed to the crowdfunding campaign. But you have all these other kind of like cast members, and it's such a big cast of these kind of hillbillies that we spend a reasonable amount of time with, and thinking they have really no relevance to the plot, and they're just kind of having these like unnecessary dialogue sequences, and the acting is really quite poor, it has to be said, and it really just drags the pacing in this movie down. Unfortunately, the movie really suffers from pacing issues. And I have to say as well, I mean, I think this movie has some good ideas, but it's filmed in a way that is really undynamic. You know, there's no build-up of atmosphere. You know, we have the initial attack from these tree monsters. That could have been done. I mean, I know it's low budget, but it'd been done in a way that was creepy and affecting, but it isn't. They just kind of like, yeah, like cheap-looking zombies kind of like walking through the woods or coming through the kind of like the door and stuff. And then these like, again, what are these kind of like web lizard types? You know, it's like, I mean, yeah, it's not filmed in a way that is particularly kind of dynamic. Then we have these kind of action sequences, and it's just, you know, people shooting guns out in the open, not taking cover. You know, people playing zombies, and there's like, we see the same kind of costumes. They've obviously reused costumes for different kind of zombies because they've only got so many, but you kind of see the same ones and stuff. And you know, there would have been a little bit of a chance here because we had the two leaders of these two different factions, and obviously that would have been an interesting dynamic to have. Something more built up with that, but they don't. And there's this kind of like backstory where the reason that some of the part of the reason why they're fighting is that there was apparently one from each clan that have kind of got together to make like a hybrid child, but the tree zombies are like seem to be like just savage beasts rather than kind of sentient beings who can communicate. So you're telling me that there was like a romance between these? It's like, you know, it's like a human having a romance of like a wild bear or something. It doesn't really make sense. I guess for some people that might be a thing, but you know, for the context of this story, you know, it's like, how does that work? And I gotta say as well, I just think the movie outstays its welcome a little bit. It isn't a particularly long film, but it did drag, and part of that I think it could have been cut down a little bit. And I think one of the key things here would be to have less sort of characters and stuff. And you know, we have all of these kind of hillbillies that just get so much kind of strict screen time, and absolutely not necessary. Overall, I've got to be honest with you, it's a below average film for me. It's a 4 out of 10, and I know people have been looking forward to this one, but it was a little bit rough. Good ideas. If you don't mind very, very low budget stuff, then you know, I think it will have some kind of schlock exploitation grindhouse value to it, but for most, I think this is probably going to be one you can probably afford to miss. Would you see it based on what I've told you? Please let me know your thoughts, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.